Welcome once again to Step Up Social Enterprise Knowledge Share YouTube channel. In this session, in this video, we're going to look at the basic or core elements or components of a monitoring, evaluation, and learning plan. We believe that these 10 are really the core elements of properly or well-developed meal plan. The first is a log frame, okay, performance measurement framework, PMF, indicator tracking tool, indicator reference sheet, evaluation plan, learning agenda, data management, meal calendar of activities, action monitoring for effectiveness, and the risk register. So let's look at the first one. And before we look at the first one, that's the log frame, you'll note that we are actually using Excel to illustrate this. Typically, a meal plan is developed or drafted in a Word document that can be sent out to financiers or other stakeholders who are interested in the meal plan. But you can also have an Excel version as an internal working document, because the beauty of the Excel version is that you can have all these components in various tabs and navigate from one tab to the other, and sometimes even just link the data and just have all the components in one Excel document that is quite user friendly. So I've even gotten feedback from some M&E professionals that actually having this in an Excel or even Google Sheet version can be really awesome and user friendly. So let's look at the first components, and that is the log frame. A log frame is basically a planning matrix that outlines the project theory, and depending on whether you are dealing with a project or a program. Sometimes if you're working with a program, then definitely you have something like a program action logic model, that is PALM. It is a project. Then a logical framework or a log frame is good enough. And of course, the log frame is a matrix that has the narratives, that is the impact, outcomes, outputs, and activities. The language may change slightly. And then for each of the narratives, you have the objectively verifiable indicators, means of verification, and assumptions. Please check out on our video on how to develop a log frame. I think that will be really helpful. In this video, just highlighting the various components of a meal plan. So the first one is the log frame. Then the second is the performance measurement framework, which is basically a summary of how performance of the project will be measured. And again, you have all the narratives, that is impact, outcomes, outputs, and activities. And then for each of the narratives, you have the indicators, the means of verification, data collection method, data collection frequency, and of course, data collection responsibility. The third one is the indicator tracking tool that basically tracks indicators over time. And again, for all the narratives in the indicator tracking tool, you'll have a baseline for all the impact, all the indicators. For the narratives, that is the impact indicators, the outcome indicators, output indicators, and the activities indicators. So for each of the indicators, for all the narratives, you have a baseline, okay? You have a baseline for each of them, and then based on the reporting frequency for each of the indicators, you must have a target or what was planned, and then the actual, okay, that is what has been achieved. Then the score for the achievement, which sometimes can be in the form of a percentage if it is a quantitative indicator, or it can be just a statement or a narrative, or just a narrative if it is a qualitative indicator. That's the indicator tracking tool. And then the fourth one is the indicator reference sheet, which is basically a detailed definition of indicators. So you'll have a listing of all your indicators, okay, and then the name of results that that the indicator is measuring, okay. Then the precise definition of the indicator, the unit of measure, the data type, how the data is disaggregated, the data source, methods of data collection, data analysis plan, and the reporting frequency. Then, of course, you have the baseline target and collection responsibilities. You may have a column for other notes, which may be helpful. The fifth element is the evaluation plan, which is a detailed plan of assessing whether the right things have been done or are being done. Okay, and I think we all know, or you understand that there is a difference between monitor evaluation. Evaluation looks at whether the right things have been done or are being done, while monitoring basically focuses on whether things are being done right. And the evaluation plan, we are using the Rainbow framework, which I find quite helpful in guiding the development of an evaluation plan. And the Rainbow framework has some as clusters, okay, and then task questions that we need to seek answers to in the evaluation. Not the evaluation questions, but questions that guide the evaluation process. And then there's normally a menu of options in the Rainbow framework. So if you just go through the Rainbow framework, you can use it as a very wonderful guide in coming up with an evaluation plan. Okay, and just to provide a little bit of more details, the clusters in the Rainbow framework include how to manage an evaluation or the evaluation system. Okay, and then you need to define what is being evaluated, and then you've got some task questions that will help you define what is being evaluated. You need to frame the boundaries of the evaluation. You need to describe the activities, outcomes, impact, and context, understand causes of outcome and impacts, synthesis data from one or more evaluations, report and support use of evaluation. So the Rainbow framework is a very beautiful guide for coming up with an evaluation plan. And then the sixth one is the learning agenda, which is just a plan to fill in critical knowledge gaps. You notice that in project management or even programs management, if you look at the theory of change or even the log frame, of course, there is what is known, okay, and what is unknown. Sometimes it's very clear. Sometimes, like the log frame can be quite linear. It's very clear that if you do this, you get this. If you take these activities and these assumptions all true, then you get this output. If you get these outputs and the assumptions all true, you get these outcomes. If these outcomes are achieved and the assumptions all true, then you get this impact. But in the process, there could be some knowledge gaps, some things which are not really understood well in terms of the interactions. So you may need to come up with a learning agenda to fill in certain critical knowledge gaps, and you do this by having your learning questions, the learning activities, and then the key decisions that arise, from the learning activities. Then, of course, you need to have a data management plan. That is the seventh element. And the data management plan, together with the data flow map, is basically an outline of how data will flow from source to use. And you need to be very clear on how the data will flow from the source, that is the data collection process, where it will be stored, how it will be stored, how it will be analyzed, and then how it will be presented or visualized. Then uh, uh, the next, that's number 8, is the MEL calendar of activities, which is a schedule of MEL activities. Okay, and this basically you have a listing of all them and the activities, the schedule of the dates and the responsibilities. That's quite straightforward. And then the 8th one, the 9th one is the action monitoring for effectiveness, which is basically a tracker that helps ensure MEL informs project actions and decisions. You notice that based on the schedules for internal reviews or even external reviews for project performance, this can be a very beautiful reference document to help track, indicators. So you have a list of indicators, the actual, okay, what was planned, and then the variance. The variance is basically the difference between the plan or the target and the actual, and the reason for the variance, okay? The reason for the variance, then the corrective action, okay? Then the responsibilities for corrective action, and then the due date for the corrective action. So, for example, if one of the indicators at the activity, if one of the indicators is maybe let's say to train 1,000 farmers by a certain time, and that means the plan of the target is 1,000 farmers, but 800 farmers have been trained. So that means you have a variance of around 200 farmers. So what is the reason for that variance? Why did we achieve the target? Then what is the corrective action? Who is responsible? And that corrective action will be by when. Okay, the variance sometimes can even be positive. For example, if you plan to train maybe 1,000 farmers, but you've trained 1,500, that's a positive of 500. So what is the reason for that variance? And is there a need for some kind of corrective action? Because sometimes you realize that in terms of project or program quality, if you're overshooting your target, sometimes that's very good, but sometimes it could also be an indicator of some issues, with the program quality, especially if you're still using the same amount of resources to do more. Okay. Then the last one, number 10, is the risk register, which basically keeps track of project theory risk or assumptions. You note that in the log frame, there's that last column for assumptions, and is sometimes there's that tendency of just having those assumptions in the log frame and forgetting about them, and yet they're very critical because they are part and parcel of the project theory. Without the assumptions, then it's difficult to achieve, some of those, the narratives. Yeah, so for example, if you are undertaking certain activities and certain assumptions hold true, then you achieve the outputs. If those assumptions do not hold true, then those outputs may not be achieved. And even if those outputs are achieved, then they may not be as a result of your project, because the assumptions do not hold true. So you need to keep track of the assumptions. And how do you do this? You do this by having the risk register. So you notice that the assumptions are always positively stated in the risk register. The assumptions in the log frame, you just state them in a negative way and they become risk statements. So just pick your assumptions, put them under the column of risk statement, and state them in a negative way, and then you have your risk statements or your risks. And then for each of the risks, you come up with a response strategy, okay? And then you have a baseline in terms of their status, what is their likelihood, what is the likelihood of that risk occurring, and what is the impact. And sometimes you just use some kind of scoring levels, like the likelihood and the impact may be low, medium, or high. Okay, so you need to know the baseline. What is the likelihood of the risk occurring? What is the impact? Okay, level, is it low, medium, or high? Then what is the risk level? And then once the project is now being implemented or program, then you keep track of the risks. You keep, logging in, the likelihoods of the risk occurring, whether it is low, medium, or high, then the impact, because this could be changing over time. And then the risk level, you can always use some kind of a formula. Okay, so for example, if let's say the likelihood is low and the impact is low, then for example, I've just used this to illustrate. Then the risk level is quite low. It could be like 17, it could be 17%. So you can use some kind of formula that takes care of the likelihood and the impact, so that you have the risk levels. And of course, you can even have some kind of cutoff that any risk that is maybe 50% and above is coded red, and it becomes a subject of discussion by the project or program management team. Yeah, so those are the core or basic components or elements of a monitoring, evaluation, and learning plan. That's a meal plan. Thank you for watching this video. We have other videos on various topics on monitoring, evaluation, and learning uploaded in this Step Up Social Enterprise Knowledge Share YouTube channel. You can check them out, and we will also be developing and uploading more videos on various topics on monitoring, evaluation, and learning. So like our channel, and we will keep you updated accordingly as we upload additional videos. But you can always be checking out or click the notification button, so that you are always informed when a new video is uploaded. Thank you so much.